Welcome to Echoes of Ihsan. We are diving deep into Islamic texts and traditions today. We're going to be looking at the Muwatta Imam Malik, specifically Book 5. And this one focuses on Jumu'a, Friday prayer. Now, I think a lot of us, think of Jumu'a as just another prayer in the week. But when you look at some of these excerpts, you find a really interesting depth of meaning and practice.
Absolutely. It's like opening up,
Yeah.
this treasure chest of wisdom and guidance that's been embedded within these traditions. And what really jumps out at me is how Imam Malik really stresses the importance of preparation, and not just physical, but spiritual preparation for this special day.
Yeah, that really stood out to me too. It's not just showing up at the mosque. It's about approaching Jumu'ah with a heightened sense of awareness
Yeah.
and intentionality.
Exactly. And one of the most important aspects of this preparation is the focus on ghusl, the ritual purification before Jumu'ah. It's mentioned repeatedly in the hadith in this book.
Yeah, but it's not just about physically being clean, right? Like
Yeah.
there's got to be a deeper symbolic meaning here.
Absolutely. It's about purifying not just the body, but the soul, cleansing ourselves of the mundane and preparing for a sacred encounter.
Yeah.
There's a growing understanding in psychology that these cleansing rituals, they can actually have an impact on our mental state, helping us to focus, be more present. It's pretty fascinating how these ancient traditions align with modern research.
Oh, for sure. That is fascinating. It's like these practices have a wisdom that goes beyond just the physical act. Like
Yeah.
when you look at that hadith about the different rewards for arriving at Jumu'ah after a ghusl, depending on how really you are.
Yeah.
It's like a sliding scale.
Yes. Hadith 5.1.1 is like a beautiful, vivid picture it paints. It compares arriving at the first part of the time to offering a camel as sacrifice. Second part a cow, third part a ram, fourth part a chicken, and then the last part is like offering an egg.
It's almost like a visual representation of how our intentions, our eagerness to connect with Allah, are reflected in our actions, even in something as simple as the timing of our arrival.
Absolutely. It's such a powerful reminder that every action, no matter how small, can be infused with spiritual significance. And this idea of intentionality, I think it applies to more than just Jumu'ah, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
Yeah.
think about it, right? When you set an intention before starting a project, how that can affect your focus and motivation.
Exactly. And Imam Malik, he actually adds another layer to this idea of preparation. In Hadith 5.1.5, he clarifies that your intention for ghusl needs to be set before you even leave for the mosque.
Oh, wow. So even before you begin,
Yeah.
the actual physical act of
Yeah.
purifying yourself, you're already mentally and spiritually preparing for Jumu'ah. That as a whole new level of depth.
It does. It really does. It's about cultivating the state of presence
Huh.
and awareness from the very beginning, aligning your inner state with your outward actions. It's like every step you take towards the mosque becomes a step closer to Allah.
So we've talked about ghusl. We've talked about setting the right intentions before Jumu'ah. But what about when we're actually in the mosque? What do these excerpts tell us about how we should conduct ourselves during the prayer itself?
One of the things that really jumps out is this real strong emphasis on complete focus during the khutbah, the imam's sermon. It's almost like mingle. Any type of distraction, even like innocent phrases, are discouraged.
I noticed that too. Why is that though? Like, what's the reasoning behind needing to be so attentive?
Well, I think it boils down to recognizing the weight and the significance of the imam's words. The khutbah is a time for spiritual reflection and guidance, a time to connect with Allah and to receive wisdom from his chosen representative. And any distractions, no matter how small, can diminish that. It's like trying to enjoy a symphony while having a loud conversation next to you. You might hear the music, but you're not fully experiencing it.
That's a great analogy. So it's about creating that inner space to fully absorb the message and let it resonate within us.
Precisely. And there's a hadith. It's actually a beautiful story that illustrates this. Hadith 5.2.8. And it talks about Uthman ibn Affan, the third caliph of Islam. And he was known for constantly reminding people to be attentive during the khutbah.
Yeah, I remember that. He would even have people make sure that the rows are straight.
Yes. He was really emphasizing the importance of,
Yep.
communal order and focus during the prayer. You see,
Mm.
Uthman ibn Affan, he came to leadership during a time of immense change
Yeah.
and expansion for the Muslim community. And his focus on order and attentiveness during the khutbah, it wasn't just about outward appearances, it was about fostering the sense of unity and shared purpose.
In a rapidly growing and very diverse community.
Oh, wow. That's a really interesting perspective. I never thought about it like that.
And it's such a stark contrast to all the distractions we face today, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Phones buzzing, minds racing with to-do lists. It's a constant battle to stay present these days, even during something as important as Jumu'ah. It is. But these hadiths, they remind us that by truly being present, by quieting all the noise, both internal and external, we enhance the Jumu'ah experience. We open ourselves up to receiving the spiritual blessings and the guidance that this day offers.
It's like we're choosing to tune in to a specific frequency, blocking out all the static and noise to receive a clear transmission.
I like that. Beautifully put. And that brings us to another question. What about those who, for whatever reason, miss part of the prayer? I mean, life happens, right? So what do these hadiths tell us about that?
Yeah, that's a great point. We've been talking about the ideal scenario, but what about those real-life situations when things don't go exactly according to plan?
Well, luckily, Hadith 5.3.1, it addresses this directly, and it says that if someone catches a single unit of prayer, or one rak'ah, they should pray an additional one to complete it.
So even if you miss a portion of it, you're still encouraged to complete the prayer to the best of your ability.
Exactly. But what about situations where someone is physically prevented from completing the movements?
Yeah.
You know, like the ruku or sajda, because it's so crowded. I imagine that was pretty common back then, and even today in some mosques.
Oh, yeah. You're right. So what happens then? You just kind of like try to make up those movements as best as you can?
Well, Imam Malik actually talks about this, and he prefers that in those situations, if you miss the sajda, that you repeat the whole prayer as zu, the noon prayer.
Oh, that's interesting. Why do you think he recommends that? It seems like it would be easier to just try and like make up the movements you missed.
I think it goes back to the importance of both the inner and outer aspects of worship, making sure you have proper form and intention, When you're unable to perform those essential movements, because of external factors, it's better to just start fresh, with a clear intention, and the ability to complete the prayer in its entirety.
Right, so it's not just about checking a box. It's about engaging in the prayer with the right mindset and physicality.
Yeah.
Recognizing that every element of prayer, from our intention to our movements, carries meaning.
Exactly. And this attention to detail, I think it highlights how important intentionality and mindfulness are in every aspect of the Jumu'ah experience.
Like a common thread.
Yeah.
That runs through all these hadiths. I'm really curious to explore that further. What else do these excerpts tell us about this deeper meaning and the practices surrounding Jumu'ah?
Well, I think it's time we look into some of the more subtle aspects of Jumu'ah, the aspects that go beyond just being physically present at the mosque, the things that touch upon the heart of this blessed day.
Let's dive in. I'm all ears.
We've been talking about all the physical preparations for Jumu'ah, the ghusl, the clothing, arriving early, but there's these hadiths that also talk about this deeper internal preparation. That's just as important. There's a hidden dimension to Jumu'ah that's all about cultivating a certain state of being.
Ooh. I like that. What do you mean?
Well, look at Hadith 5.7.16. It mentions a specific time during Jumu'ah where Allah is particularly receptive to the prayers of a Muslim. But the Hadith never says when that time is.
Yeah, that one always gets me thinking. Is it right before the prayer, during the khutbah, after?
Right, and I think that's deliberate.
Yeah.
It's like a puzzle that Imam Malik puts in there. Like he wants us to really be present throughout the whole Jumu'ah experience.
Yeah, like we're on a treasure hunt for that special time.
Exactly. And then you connect that to the story in Hadith 5.7.17 with Abu Hurairah, Kabal Appar, and Abdullah ibn Salam.
Debating about whether this special time happens every year or every week.
Yeah. And it shows that even those early scholars, they were thinking about this too. And the part that always gets me is how Abdullah ibn Salam knew the exact time. But he didn't tell Abu Hurairah.
Right. Like, why keep it a secret?
It makes you wonder. It's like he wanted Abu Hurairah, and us too, to keep searching, keep striving to reach that connection.
So it's less about figuring out what minute it is.
Yeah, and more about an internal shift. Remember how he connected that special time to the hadith about staying in a state of prayer, as long as you're waiting for the next one?
Oh, yeah, that's right. So it's less about the clock and more about a state of being. Carrying that awareness throughout the day.
Exactly. And I think that takes us to this other theme. You see a lot in these excerpts, this back and forth between our outward actions and our inner preparation.
Oh, you mean how those physical actions reflect our inner state?
That's it. So the hadiths about ghusl, they're not just about being clean. They're about preparing yourself spiritually to stand before Allah.
And wearing nice clothes.
Yeah.
Using perfume.
Yeah. It becomes a way of expressing your intentions, like saying, this day is important, and I'm showing that through how I present myself, through my actions.
It's a form of adab, right? Like showing respect, not just to Allah, but to the community, to the whole occasion.
Absolutely. And you remember Hadith 5.8.2 Lan, the one about facing the Imam, even before the khutbah starts.
Yeah, what's interesting about that one is how much it emphasizes the visuals. Like everyone turning to face the Imam.
Yeah, it's a way of physically showing that you're aligned with the Imam, with each other.
And that focus. It sets the stage for really listening during the khutbah.
Right, all those little things,
Yeah.
they build up to this heightened state of awareness, of being ready to receive the message.
Which makes me think about that hadith, about skipping Jumu'a without a good reason. You know the one where it says Allah seals the heart.
Hadith 5.9.22.
Yeah.
A powerful one. And it really connects back to everything we've been talking about Jumu'ah is about. Cultivating the state of presence, of connection. So to choose to be absent repeatedly, it shows a level of detachment that goes beyond the physical. It affects the heart.
It's a strong reminder that our commitment to Jumu'ah shows our commitment to our faith, to our community, and in the end, to our own spirituality.
You know, it's pretty amazing how much Imam Malik talks about the khutbah itself. It's more than just someone giving a lecture. It's like a key part of the whole Jumu'ah experience.
I've always felt that too. There's just something about it, the way it takes those timeless principles of Islam and connects them to what we're going through today, you know, in our modern lives.
Yeah, like a bridge between what's sacred and what's everyday. A reminder that your faith doesn't stop at the door of the mosque. It's meant for every part of your life.
And it's not all abstract either. The khutbah deals with real issues, things that are relevant to us, like social justice, family life, taking care of the environment.
Right. It shows that Islam is a way of life, like a guide for building a society that's just and compassionate, both within yourself and in the world.
And I love how the khutbah uses stories
Yeah.
from the Quran, from the life of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him.
Those stories have so much power. You know, they give us examples of how to live our faith. They inspire us to be better.
It's different to hear about things like patience or generosity, and then to actually see those qualities in the Prophet's life and the lives of his companions.
Yeah. And it's a reminder that we're part of something much bigger, this long tradition that goes all the way back to the source of our faith.
It's humbling, but it's empowering at the same time.
It is, and that's what the khutbah does. It passes on that wisdom and guidance to every generation so that the light of Islam keeps shining.
Really makes you appreciate the role of the imam,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
in the community.
Yeah, the imam isn't just leading the prayer, they're teaching, guiding, inspiring, and the khutbah is how they do that.
And to think all this is wrapped up in Jumu'ah. It's not just a prayer. It's a chance to find spiritual energy, to connect with the community, to learn, to feel inspired.
Yeah, you put it perfectly. A chance to stop, reflect, recharge your spiritual batteries, remember what matters, and then go back into your life feeling renewed.
You know, it's really interesting. As we've been going through all these hadiths from the Muwatta, one thing that sticks with me is that Jumu'ah isn't just a ritual. It's like a doorway to something more. But we have to make that choice to step through it, you know?
I like that. Yeah, it's like we've got this map to a hidden treasure, but we have to be the ones to go on the adventure, to actually find it.
Exactly. And it's like so much of what we talked about today comes down to this. How do we approach Jumu'ah in a way that we're really present, really intentional, so it's not just going through the motions?
Right, that's the big question. And I don't think there's one answer that works for everyone. But what I love about these hadiths is that they give us a starting point, a set of principles that we can each take and make our own.
So like a spiritual choose your own adventure.
I like that because it recognizes that we're all coming from different places with different baggage, different challenges.
Right. So let's say, hypothetically, I'm someone who has a hard time focusing during the khutbah.
Yeah.
You know, my mind wanders. I get distracted by what other people are doing. How could I use these principles to actually get something out of the imam's words?
That's real. And I think going back to those hadiths about Uthman ibn Affan, it gives us some clues. Remember, he was all about making sure there was order, attentiveness during the khutbah.
Right. Like he understood that the environment itself could make a difference in how well you could focus.
Exactly. So like a practical thing you could try is to find a spot in the mosque where you're less likely to get distracted, maybe closer to the front, or maybe off to the side where there's more space.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And maybe taking some time before the khutbah starts
Yeah.
to kind of get yourself in the right headspace, Put the phone away, close your eyes, take a few deep breaths.
Little things like that can make such a difference. It's a way of telling yourself, okay, it's time to switch gears, time to focus.
Yeah, like putting up a do not disturb sign for your soul.
Exactly. And remember, even back then, people struggled to focus. Remember that hadith about foolish talk during the khutbah?
The one where even saying listen is a distraction.
That's the one. It shows that this is a human thing, not a personal failing, What matters is to keep trying, to keep coming back to that intention, to be present.
And it makes me think about that other hadith, about that special time during Jumu'a, when prayers are more likely to be answered, if we don't know when that time is.
It means we have to be aware the whole day.
Right.
Like, be ready to connect with Allah at any moment.
Like Jumu'a becomes a day-long meditation, where everything you do, every thought, has intention behind it.
I like that. And that takes us back to that connection between what we do outwardly and how we prepare inwardly. Things like wearing your nice clothes, putting on perfume.
It's not just a routine, it's a way of showing respect for the day.
And those things can serve as reminders. Every time you smell that perfume, it takes you back to the intention you set at the beginning of the day.
Like a little reminder from your senses to stay connected to that feeling.
I like that. And even just,
Yeah.
Making sure the rows are straight during prayer.
Which, honestly, sounds kind of picky at first.
But it can be this, active mindfulness. It's about the details, aligning yourself with the people around you, creating this sense of harmony that helps your heart to connect.
So every part of Jumu'ah, from the little things to the big lessons, can be this: opportunity for something deeper if you come to it with the right intention.
That's what's so amazing about it. You've got all these tools, these practices, these teachings, and we get to use them to make Jumu'ah something that truly feeds our souls, that brings us closer to Allah.
It's almost like Jumu'ah is a reflection of life itself. You have the actions, the rituals, the structure, but what really makes the difference is the intention, the presence, the awareness you bring to it.
And that's something we can take with us outside the mosque, into our lives.
So, as we wrap up this deep dive, I feel a sense of awe and also possibility, awe at how much wisdom there is in these hadiths, and possibility for how we can use these teachings to change our Jumu'ah experience and maybe even our whole lives.
That's a great way to put it. And what's so great is that it's never too late to start. Wherever you are on your journey, Jumu'ah is a chance to start fresh, to reconnect, to set new intentions, and to deepen your relationship with Allah.
That's a beautiful thought. I think a perfect place to end. So to everyone listening, we hope this deep dive has given you some new ideas and inspired you to approach your next Jumu'ah with a renewed sense of purpose, presence.
May Allah grant us all sincerity and the ability to benefit from this blessed day.
Ameen. And until next time, may Allah's peace and blessings be upon you all.
Ameen.